You know the story. You take a trade full of confidence. You've done your homework. The setup is clean. The candles align, indicators whisper go, and you pull the trigger. Then it turns against you. You hold just a bit more. It might turn back. Maybe it's just noise. It drops further. You freeze. Now you're hoping, not trading. By the time you close it, it's not just a loss, it's a wound. But here's the real danger. The loss itself isn't what wrecks most traders. It's what comes after. It's what that loss triggers. You see, most traders don't blow their account on one bad decision. They implode chasing the next one. They spiral. They lose themselves trying to get it back. It's like being in quicksand. You thrash, you kick. You think more movement means escape. But every frantic move drags you deeper. This is the slippery slope. When one loss hijacks your psychology, and suddenly the goal isn't smart execution, it's emotional revenge. Let me tell you about Marcus, new trader. Small account, smart guy, studied hard, had a few green weeks. Confidence was rising. Then came his first big red day. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning he went in early, doubled his size, and didn't wait for confirmation. Boom. Another loss. Now he's angry, desperate. He thinks, I just need one good trade to recover. But that next trade, it wasn't in the plan. It wasn't part of his strategy. It was fear dressed as urgency. 3 hours later, his account is half gone. What happened? The market didn't destroy Marcus. His reaction did. This is the psychological trap no one warns you about. Losing isn't the real test. Recovering without losing your mind is. Great traders don't avoid drawdowns. They don't win every week. They don't escape the red days. What they do is contain them, emotionally, mentally, and most importantly, strategically. Because here's the hard truth. Your system might survive a loss, but your mindset? That's always what's on the line. Now think about pilots. Every commercial pilot trains for engine failure. Not because it's common, but because when it happens, panic kills faster than gravity. Their survival isn't luck. It's the discipline to stay calm in chaos. As a trader, you're no different. When the market punches you in the mouth, it's not your strategy that saves you. It's how well you breathe. How well you follow your checklist. How well you stick to the plan. Especially when every part of you is screaming to abandon it. Here's the shift. You need to stop asking, how do I avoid losses? Start asking, who do I become after one? Because that version of you, that's the one the market will test. Every blown account starts with one trade. Not because it was a bad trade, but because the trader turned it into a spiral. Because ego took over. Because fear whispered, fix it now. And that whisper, if you listen to it, it becomes a scream. So what's the solution? Ironically, it's not about getting tougher. It's about getting slower, slowing down the spiral before it starts. Pause after the loss. Step back, journal it. Reassess your plan, not your emotions. If you can learn to take a red day and do nothing stupid the next day, you're already in the top 10%. Why? Because consistency doesn't start with winning. It starts with not self-destructing when you're not. Now here's what sets up the rest of this journey. Losses are part of the business. Your job isn't to avoid them, it's to absorb them. Without distortion, to keep your hands steady on the wheel even when the road shakes. That's the trader who survives. That's the trader who wins long term. And in the next section, we'll dive into why your brain lies to you after wins too. Because the slippery slope has two sides. Let's talk about the illusion of momentum. You win once, you feel good. You win twice, you feel smart. You win 3 times in a row, and now you feel invincible. That's the danger. The trading world calls it momentum. But what most traders experience isn't real momentum. It's an illusion. It's emotional fire dressed up as logic. And if you don't recognize it, it will burn you just like fear does. Let's be honest, winning feels like proof. It tells you your edge is working. It tells you you are working. You start walking a little taller. Your entries feel sharper. Your exits feel cleaner. But here's what most traders miss. That confidence isn't always real. It's chemical. Wins release dopamine. Dopamine clouds judgment. And clouded judgment doesn't feel like danger. It feels like a green light. Let's rewind and meet Trader B. She's new. She's cautious. She follows her rules, tight risk, clean setups, small size. First trade, win. Second trade, win. Third trade, win again. 3 green days in a row. Now she's got the juice. So she decides to size up a bit. Next trade. Risk is double. Still green. This feels amazing. She starts ignoring some of her rules. She's in tune with the market. Till she isn't. Trade 6. Slams into her stop hard. But this time she doesn't respect it. She knows it's going to bounce. She just needs to wait. She averages in. It drops further. She panics and exits, wiping out the entire week in one hit. That's what false momentum does. It makes you forget what game you're playing. It convinces you figured it out. It tells you, you don't need the rules anymore. You are the edge. And that's when it kills you. You know who never plays this game? Casino owners? They don't care who's winning at the table. They don't chase the feeling. They don't tilt. Why? Because their edge plays out over time. One win doesn't excite them. One loss doesn't shake them. They just keep the system running. The professional trader is the same. They don't fall for streaks. They understand variance. They know that consistency means protecting your mental state, especially after success. Because wins can be more dangerous than losses. Why? Because at least after a loss, you're cautious. After a win, you're high on your own potential. And that's when the market humbles you. Jesse Livermore, one of the most famous traders in history, once said, "The human side of every person is the greatest enemy of the average investor or speculator." He wasn't talking about losses. He was talking about what happens after a win. That little whisper that says, "Let's go again. Double up. Push the edge." That whisper feels like momentum, but it's actually overconfidence. And overconfidence is the twin brother of recklessness. So how do you stop it? You detach from streaks. You journal wins just like you journal losses. You ask, did I follow the plan or did I get lucky? You keep your risk consistent even when your equity isn't. You act like a pilot, not a daredevil. Because every trade is just one trade. Not validation, not destiny, not proof of genius. Just a single execution in a long game. The traders who survive aren't the ones who chase a hot hand. They're the ones who treat every trade the same. Win or lose. The same prep, the same plan, the same risk. That's how you build the skill of consistency. Because this game isn't about being right. It's about staying grounded, especially when things are going too well. In the next section, we'll look at the hidden killer behind most trading breakdowns. It's not fear. It's not greed. It's the expectation that you're always supposed to win. Let's dive into that illusion and how it destroys discipline. 2 traders. Same account size, same market, same setup, same losing streak. But only one survives. This isn't fiction. This is real life in the markets, where your strategy might be identical to someone else's, but your psychology. That's the true difference maker. Let's talk about Trader A and Trader B. Trader A starts the week strong. He's following his plan, trading setups he trusts. Then 3 trades in a row, red. Clean stops, no huge disasters, but red is red. Immediately the internal noise begins. I'm falling behind. I need to make this back. Maybe if I size up just this once. The next trade? It's not the cleanest, but it looks good enough. He forces it, then sizes up, then ignores the stop. Boom, 4th red trade. And now it's not small, it hurts. But here's the dangerous part. He's not out of control yet. No, that comes next, when he tells himself, I can't walk away like this. And that's the moment it spirals. He becomes obsessed with getting green again. Not trading well. Just winning, just fixing it. The setups degrade. The size inflates. The emotion takes over. And by the end of the day, Trader A isn't a trader anymore. He's a gambler wearing a strategy as a mask. Now, Trader B, same red streak. 3 losses. Same setups, same system, same market. But when the 3rd one hits, he doesn't jump into revenge. He opens his journal. He breathes. He steps away from the screen. He reviews his checklist. Did I follow my rules? Were these valid setups? Was risk managed? The answer? Yes, it was just variance. Just part of the game. So he does something rare, something unsexy, something powerful. He does nothing. No revenge trades, no tilting, no forcing a win just to feel better. He logs off. The next day, the same routine. Same size, same plan, same patience. No sudden breakthrough, no dramatic win. Just discipline, control, confidence, and in a week, he's still alive, still calm, still trading, Now ask yourself, which one are you when the red streak hits? Because here's the truth. Every trader will go through drawdowns. The market doesn't care how smart you are. It doesn't care how badly you want it. It will put you through losing streaks that feel unfair. That feels personal. But the difference isn't who loses less. It's who self-destructs. And who doesn't. Let's break it down. Trader A was driven by emotion. He tied his identity to the outcome of a single trade. So when that trade failed, he failed. That's where the panic comes from. That's where the overtrading, oversizing, and tilt come from. From the idea that I must win now, or I'm not good enough. That mindset is poison, because it attaches your worth to a random outcome. And in trading, randomness is part of the game. Trader B, he wasn't attached to being right. He was attached to executing correctly. That's the shift. That's the psychological pivot that separates the survivors from the quitters. Because guess what? You can do everything right and still lose money. And you can break every rule and get lucky. The market is cruel like that. But professional traders, the ones who scale accounts, the ones who make it years, not weeks, they aren't judging themselves on wins and losses. They're judging themselves on process. And when they hit a drawdown, they lean on structure, not emotion. Here's a quick analogy. Think of a soldier in combat. Shots fired, chaos everywhere. The rookie panics, fires blindly, and loses control. But the trained operator, he breathes, checks corners, follows his training. He doesn't let panic write the plan, because the plan was made before the chaos. That's what a trader must become, a calm operator under pressure, not a hustler trying to make it back. And that brings us to the practical takeaway. Have a drawdown protocol, not just a risk limit, a mindset framework. Predefine how many losses before you stop for the day. Pre-plan how you'll analyze drawdowns with logic, not panic. Write a mantra, something like, I am a trader, not a gambler. Process first. Emotions last. Set a rule. No increase in size after a red day. Build it now, because once you're in the storm, it's too late to make a map. Consistency isn't about winning every day. It's about responding the same way, no matter the outcome. Trader A had skill. He had a strategy, but his psychology cracked, and that's what took him out. Trader B had the same losses, but none of the panic. That's what kept him alive. And in trading, staying alive is the only way you eventually win. Now let's talk about what comes after the drawdown, when confidence is low and fear wants you to change your entire system. In the next section, we explore why most traders sabotage themselves right before the bounce back, and how you can avoid that trap. Picture this. It's midnight. You're 36,000 feet in the air. The cabin shakes. Lightning flashes across the sky. The aircraft jolts again. A storm has swallowed your flight. Now pause. Are you hoping the pilot feels confident? Or that the pilot follows the checklist? Exactly. In high-stakes situations, emotion is a liability. Precision, process, and preparation, that's what saves lives. And that right there is how a pro trader survives chaos in the markets. You see, beginner traders want to feel right before they act. They want confirmation, certainty, permission. But markets, like weather, don't care how you feel. And they don't warn you before turbulence hits. The pros, they don't guess. They don't hope. They train for the worst before it happens. And when it does, they don't react, they execute. Let's take a real example. U.S. Airways Flight 1549. You might know it as the Miracle on the Hudson. January 15, 2009. Shortly after takeoff, both engines fail due to a bird strike. No power, no altitude, no time. But Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger didn't panic. He didn't freeze. He ran the checklist. He made decisions based on training, not emotion. He chose the Hudson, executed a textbook water landing. Everyone on board survived. Now ask yourself, what would have happened if Sully had acted like a retail trader? Panicked, froze, overreacted. He tried something new he saw in a YouTube video the night before, disaster, but because he had systemized his decision-making, because he had trained for the worst case scenario, he turned catastrophe into control. And that's the shift you have to make as a trader. Every trade feels like your account is on the line. But trading isn't about winning one trade. It's about surviving thousands. And just like flying, it only takes one mistake, one emotional move, to lose everything. So what do the pros do? They build checklists. They follow routines. They depersonalize the chaos, not because they're cold, but because they know emotion is the enemy of execution. Have you ever seen a trader freeze on a red candle? Or chase a breakout that already ran? Or skip a setup because they're not feeling it today? That's emotion talking. That's the amateur mind reacting to turbulence. The pilot's mind says, conditions have changed, here's the new checklist. No ego, no panic, just process. Let's talk practicality. What does the pilot mindset actually look like for you, the trader? It means before every session you have a flight plan. What setups will you trade? What conditions are ideal? How much risk you'll take when? Will you stop for the day? What invalidates your setup and what to do when things go wrong? And most importantly, you follow that plan no matter what your emotions say. Because your brain will lie to you in real time. It will whisper, chase this. Double up, take revenge. That's your panic system flaring. It's your primitive brain trying to save you from a loss. But the pilot inside you knows that system doesn't belong in the cockpit. Look at the best traders. They're calm during crashes, unshaken during slumps, unmoved by a random green day. They've trained their brains through repetition, journaling, simulation, and reflection to execute under pressure. They've accepted that storms come with the skies, and they fly anyway. A loss doesn't rattle them. A drawdown doesn't derail them, because they trust the system, not the sky, not their gut, not the noise outside the window. Here's the takeaway. Don't try to feel good while trading. Try to follow through. Build your checklist. Test it, refine it, and then trust it, especially when the market shakes the cabin, because that's what keeps your account alive when others crash. Next up, we'll dig into a surprising truth. You don't need more setups. You need fewer decisions. Let's talk about the power of constraint and why it frees you from chaos. Let's call it what it is. Revenge. Most traders don't. They use softer labels. I'm just trying to recover. I'll get it back on the next trade. This one feels right. But underneath those words, it's not logic. It's not strategy. It's ego. You're not trying to recover your capital. You're trying to repair your pride. That's the real loss you're chasing. And that's where everything starts to fall apart. Let's walk through how it happens. The trader takes a loss. It was within the plan, but it stings. Maybe they broke a rule. Maybe they slipped on the step. Maybe it was just a perfectly valid setup that didn't work. Doesn't matter. The emotional response is the same. That wasn't fair. I shouldn't be red. I need to make this back. And suddenly, logic is gone. The next trade isn't clean. It isn't structured. But it's fast. It's forced. It's revenge. And here's the twisted part. It feels logical in the moment. Your brain is screaming at you. We've got to fix this. We need to act now. The next opportunity is the one. So you size up. You cut corners. You take a setup you would have passed on 10 minutes ago. Because you're no longer trying to trade the market. You're trying to erase the past. Let me tell you something brutal. You can't fix a mistake with speed. You can only fix it with discipline. Trying to get it back never brings you back. It only takes you deeper. Because when you're revenge trading, you're not following the market anymore. You're following your emotions. And emotions are horrible trading indicators. Let's use a case study. Jesse Livermore, one of the most famous traders of all time. He made and lost multiple fortunes. His downfall wasn't strategy. It wasn't lack of edge. It was an emotional impulse. He couldn't stop when things went wrong. He chased, he forced. He tried to be right again, fast. And in the end, he blew everything up. That's not a rare story. That's the common story. The rare trader is the one who takes a hit and doesn't hit back. Here's another analogy. Imagine you're in a boxing ring. You take a clean punch. Doesn't knock you out, but it lands hard. The wrong response? Lunging in with wild punches, trying to get even. That's when the smart fighter, the patient one, waits, watches, and lands the knockout. The emotional one walks into a second punch and doesn't get up. Trading is the same. When you try to strike back out of frustration, you expose yourself. You ignore defense. You abandon form. And the market knocks you out. So how do you avoid it? You build emotional awareness into your system. Here are a few rules that save real traders from self-destruction. The pause rule. After every loss, step away for 5 to 10 minutes. Force a break between pain and decision-making. The red limit rule. Set a max daily drawdown. Once you hit it, you're done. No debate, no, just one more. The pre-planned re-entry rule. If you want to keep trading, journal the next setup first, before taking it. If you can't write why it's valid, you're not in control. The size lock rule. No increasing size after a red trade, period. Size resets every day. But here's the most powerful mindset shift. You don't have to get it back. You just have to get better. If you're always trying to return to break even, you'll stay in the loop forever. Break even is an emotional anchor. It tricks you into thinking your job is to erase pain. But your real job is to execute the plan again and again and let the edge play out. That's what professional traders do. They know a red day doesn't define them. They know losses are tuition. They know acting right matters more than feeling right. Let's be honest. Revenge trading is seductive. It gives you hope. It gives you urgency. It gives you the illusion of control. But it's a lie. It's your ego dressing up as a plan. It's fear pretending to be discipline. And if you follow it, it will lead you to the same place it leads every trader. Account blown. Confidence shattered. Lessons ignored. Now take a breath. Ask yourself, have I traded out of emotion this week? Did I ever size up to fix something? Am I following my plan or following my pride? Because recognizing the trap is the first step to avoiding it. In the next chapter, we shift from damage control to preparation and explore how building mental routines ahead of time is the only way to stay stable in the storm. Revenge is a reaction. Consistency is preparation. Let's walk into Chapter 6 and talk about how pro traders train their minds like athletes, with habits, reps, and recovery. Most traders only celebrate green days. They only feel successful when they're up in equity, when the trade hits profit, when the number on the screen validates them. But that's exactly why they stay inconsistent. Because when results are your only scoreboard, your psychology becomes a slave to randomness. And when the randomness turns red, you unravel. So how do you stay consistent? When your trades aren't, you change what you reward. Professional traders don't just track wins and losses. They track execution. They celebrate discipline. They aim for micro wins, even when the equity curve dips. Because here's the secret. What you reward, your brain repeats. If every dopamine hit only comes from profit, you'll do whatever it takes to chase it, even if it breaks your rules. But what if you train your brain to reward control? Then control becomes natural. Let's break it down neurologically. The human brain is a pattern-seeking machine. It wants clarity. It wants certainty. It wants to feel in charge. But trading is uncertainty by design. So what does your brain do? It freaks out. It looks for shortcuts. It panics and reaches for anything that feels rewarding, fast. That's why revenge trading feels right in the moment. That's why abandoning stops feels smart when you're in pain. Your brain is just trying to avoid discomfort and chase relief. Unless you train it differently. Think of this like going to the gym. You don't build strength by lifting what's easy. You build strength by leaning into controlled resistance. Same in trading. If you want emotional strength, the kind that keeps you disciplined in chaos, you need reps. Micro wins are those reps. You journaled after a loss? That's a rep. You followed your stop loss exactly? That's a rep. You passed on a bad setup even though you were tempted? That's a rep. You stuck to your daily loss limit and shut the platform down? That's a rep. You didn't make money, but you made progress. Let me give you a real example. Trader A takes a loss. They're frustrated, but they step back. They open their journal. They write what happened, what they felt, and what they'll adjust. They log the trade, without blame, without panic. They take a walk. Drink some water, no screen. And they don't trade again that day. That trader is winning. Not in dollars, but in psychological dominance. Now compare that to Trader B, same loss. But they force another trade, chase, size up, refuse to journal. And 3 trades later, they're down 3x more, and blaming the market. One of those traders built resilience. The other built emotional debt. Here's the irony. Discipline is uncomfortable at first. But over time, it feels better than chaos ever did. Because once your brain starts to associate peace with control, not profits, you become unstoppable. This isn't theory. This is science. Behavioral psychology shows us that reward shapes behavior. If you reward discipline, The brain wires itself to crave structure. That's what elite traders do. They stop seeing red days as failure. They see them as feedback. They use them to sharpen, not spiral. So here's your challenge. Define your micro wins. Make them specific, trackable, behavioral. Example, did I follow my risk management rule today? Did I stick to my A-plus setups only? Did I take a break after 2 losses? Did I end the day on time, not emotionally? These are wins. These are reps. This is how you retrain your identity. The goal isn't to feel good because of your performance. The goal is to feel good about your performance, regardless of profit. That's how confidence is built. Not through hype, not through perfect trades, but through integrity with your plan. And when the inevitable drawdowns hit, because they always do, you won't panic. Because your brain has a new scoreboard. You'll still feel in control, still feel progress, still feel like a winner, even when the chart says loss. That's power. In the next chapter, we dive into the system that makes this possible. The mental process traders use before the session even begins. Because if discipline is the output, preparation is the input. And the pros? They don't just react better, they prepare better. Let's talk about mental routines and how they build a trader's edge before they click a single button. Most traders charge into the market like soldiers, emotional, reactive, ready to fight. They see movement, they fire. They lose, they reload. They treat the market like a battlefield, where bravery and speed win the day. But here's the brutal truth. The market doesn't reward bravery. It punishes reactivity. The successful traders? They're not soldiers. They're snipers. Think about how a sniper operates. They're not sprinting around looking for targets. They're calm, still, focused. They spend 90% of their time watching, waiting, breathing. And when the right moment comes, one shot, one execution. No hesitation, no panic, no spray and pray. This is the mindset shift most traders never make. They think more trades and more chances. More setups wire more success. More effort, more reward. But trading doesn't work like that. In fact, the more you do, the more you expose yourself. Because every trade costs more than capital. It costs mental energy, emotional bandwidth, strategic clarity. That's what snipers protect. Their capital and their composure. Let's break it down with an analogy. Picture trader A, the soldier. The market opens, and he's firing off trades by 9:35 a.m. He's glued to 5 indicators, 3 Discord groups, and 2 time frames. Every candle looks like an opportunity. Every dip looks like a bounce. Every loss feels like a battle to be won back. By noon, he's exhausted. By close, he's either lucky or completely wrecked. Now meet trader B, the sniper. She does her prep the night before. She knows exactly what her ideal setup looks like. She has alerts ready, risk defined, and her mindset calm. She might take 1 trade, maybe 2. But every shot is clean, measured, high probability. By the end of the day, she still has her capital, still has her composure, and most importantly, still has her confidence. The difference isn't strategy, it's psychology. Snipers value control over action. Soldiers value action over control. And that's why soldiers burn out, mentally and financially. The sniper mindset is especially crucial during losing periods. Because that's when your instincts scream, do something. Fix it. Trade more to make it back. But that's the trap. The more you press, the more you bleed. True pros, the ones who outlast, they tighten up during drawdowns. They reduce size. They increase selectivity. They wait for the market to come to them. That's not weakness. That's elite patience. Think about professional athletes. A baseball player in a slump doesn't swing at everything. They dial in, go back to mechanics, wait for the perfect pitch. A poker pro down in chips doesn't start shoving all in every hand. They protect their stack. They play position. They wait for the edge. Trading is no different. It's not about doing more. It's about preserving more until the odds are right again. Here's something most traders never hear. Patience is a profitable skill. It's not passive. It's active discipline. And the longer you can wait without breaking, the more dangerous you become. Because when your setup does appear, you're not panicked. You're not desperate. You're ready. Capital intact. Psychology intact. And that's when the market finally hands you your reward. Let me give you a real-world example. A prop firm once studied their best traders during losing weeks. Guess what they found? The top performers didn't avoid losses. They just traded less. Their win rate stayed the same, but their frequency dropped. They didn't try to force success. They just didn't add fuel to failure. That's sniper thinking. So how do you apply this practically? Here's a checklist. Predefine your A+ setup. Reduce screen time if nothing's there. You'll use alerts instead of watching candles. You take strategic breaks, even in session. Honor max loss limits like a sniper guard's position. They make inaction feel like a win when conditions aren't ideal. Remember, passing on a trade is still a decision, one that protects your edge. And if you want an identity shift, start calling yourself a precision trader. Not a hustler, not a grinder, not a chart warrior, but a precision operator who doesn't waste bullets on noise. When you think like that, you build trust with yourself. And that's the foundation of confidence. Here's the truth no one likes to hear. The most dangerous traders in the world are not the busiest. They're the stillest. They wait, they watch, and when it's time to strike, they don't miss. In the final chapter, we bring it all home. Because when you combine everything, the sniper mindset, the emotional discipline, the strategic patience, there's only one thing left to master: survival. Let's talk about why lasting longer, not winning faster, is what builds fortunes. Consistency doesn't come from confidence. It comes from identity, because the market doesn't just test your strategy, it tests who you are. And most traders, they're not losing because they lack information. They're losing because they haven't become the kind of person who can handle the information. Let me explain. There's a moment in every trader's journey, usually after blowing a few accounts, where something clicks. They realize it's not the setup, it's not the indicator, it's not the mentor or the broker or the news. It's them, their emotions, their impulsiveness, their ego, their inability to follow through on what they said they'd do. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's also the beginning of real transformation. Think of it like a pilot. No matter how good the plane is, if the person in the cockpit doesn't follow procedures under pressure, disaster. Trading is no different. You don't need a magic plane. You need to become a better pilot. Let me give you an example. Trader A wakes up and checks their P&L immediately. If they're red, their whole mood shifts. They tell themselves, I just need to make it back today. They start scanning for revenge setups, over-leveraging without realizing it. They're anxious and impulsive, and deep down they know it. Why? Because they still see themselves as someone who might win, or might not. A gambler with a laptop, a hopeful hustler, someone trying to survive, not execute. Now contrast that with Trader B. They don't wake up checking P&L. They follow a process, stretch, journal, review yesterday's trades, scan for clean setups, and pre-plan exits. If the day ends red, they follow protocol. No deviation, no emotion. They log it, analyze it, and walk away. Why? Because Trader B isn't trying to feel like a professional, they are one. Here's the truth most traders miss. You can't act consistently without becoming someone who values consistency over emotion. You have to change what you take pride in, not how much you made today, but how well you executed today. Not whether you felt good, but you followed through despite how you felt. This is the identity shift. You stop trading to prove something. You start trading like a professional with a plan. You stop chasing dopamine. You start chasing discipline. You stop trying to get rich fast. You start building something you can actually scale. And here's the catch. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's not viral. But it's what separates the traders who burn out from the ones who build wealth silently. Soros didn't build his legacy by winning every trade. He built it by consistently aligning risk with probability. Richard Dennis didn't train his turtle traders to win big. He trained them to think like operators, to follow rules, to stick to systems. Even Jesse Livermore, who lost and rebuilt fortunes, said it himself. The big money is not in the buying or selling, but in the waiting. And the only way to wait, to hold, to act with calm precision, is to become someone who doesn't panic when they're tested. Let's make it practical. Here's a question you need to answer honestly. What identity are you reinforcing right now? Are you reinforcing the I just want to win trader? The one who bends rules, cuts corners, and trades when bored? Or are you reinforcing the I show up like a pro identity? The one who tracks every move, reviews the plan, and stays emotionally neutral regardless of the market's mood? You don't become a consistent operator by accident. You do it by repetition, by showing up as that version of yourself, again and again and again, until it's just who you are. Start small, change your language, stop saying I hope. Start saying I execute. Change your rituals. Build a pre-market routine and never skip it. Change your feedback loop, reward discipline, not profit. Change your goal, don't aim to be right, aim to be consistent. And over time, something strange happens. You stop needing the market to make you feel good. You just do the job, because you've finally become the kind of trader who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, and doesn't collapse, no matter what the chart says. This is the final shift, not a new strategy, not a secret setup, just this. You stop identifying as a trader who wants to win, and start becoming the operator who does what's required, every day without exception. That's how wealth is built in this game, not with hype, but with identity-backed action. And when you reach that level, consistency becomes second nature. Even during the chaos, even during the losses, even when nothing feels easy. Because this time, it's not about feeling good. It's about being unshakable. Let that identity sink in, and start acting like the trader you're becoming. One disciplined move at a time. Here's the part no one tells you. The real mental trick isn't in mastering the charts. It's not about your win rate. And it's definitely not about calling tops and bottoms. It's this: can you take the right action, even when it doesn't feel good? Can you execute your plan not for the reward, but because it's who you are? This is where most traders collapse. They make a good trade, follow the rules, respect the risk, and it loses. Instantly, the mind rebels. What was the point? Maybe this system doesn't work. Next time I'll trust my gut instead. And right there in that moment, they sabotage the entire journey. Why? Because their self-worth was tied to the outcome, not the process. But pros, they've trained a different muscle. They've decoupled their identity from the results. They don't chase dopamine hits from green trades. They don't spiral from red ones. They think like elite athletes, like special forces soldiers, like disciplined pilots. They know one thing: you don't rise to the outcome. You fall to the level of your process. Think about a fighter pilot. When turbulence hits, when a system fails mid-flight, when lives are at stake, do they need immediate feedback to stay calm? No. They've drilled the checklist so many times it's automatic. They trust the system. They trust themselves. And they don't need applause to execute. That's what real traders do. Let's take a look at George Soros. People remember the billions he made, breaking the Bank of England. But they forget what actually made that possible. He placed hundreds of low-risk, high-conviction trades. Many failed, quietly, without reaction. He wasn't trying to be right on every trade. He was trying to be disciplined enough to catch the one that mattered. And when it came, he didn't hesitate, because his confidence wasn't built on being right. It was built on doing the work, no matter the short-term result. This is what makes the mental trick so powerful and so rare. Most traders are addicted to instant gratification. They want the green candle to validate their self-esteem. They want the P&L to prove they're worthy. But if you need the result to feel okay, you'll never feel okay for long, because the market doesn't give consistent outcomes. But you can give consistent actions, and over time, those consistent actions compound into something far more powerful than luck. They become your edge. Let's break this down with a visual. Imagine two traders. Trader A judges every session by his P&L. If he's green, he's euphoric. If he's red, he's defeated. He changes setups, breaks rules, and lets results dictate confidence. Trader B judges every session by one question. Did I follow my process? If yes, he wins, even on a red day, because he knows the outcome is a lagging indicator. The process is always real time. Guess who grows? Guess who survives? Not the emotional roller coaster, the process-driven machine. Now here's how you train this. Define success by behavior, not results. Did you follow your stop loss? Did you skip the FOMO trade? That's success. Log emotional decisions. Every time you trade emotionally, write it down. Then write how it felt after. Pattern recognition isn't just for charts. Reward process wins. Take yourself out for coffee after a disciplined red day. Show your brain that following rules feels better than breaking them. Use post-session audits. Grade yourself on execution, not outcome. Build the habit of self-accountability. This isn't a one-day flip. It's slow, it's quiet, and it's internal. But over time, it's how you build unshakable confidence. Not from wins, not from streaks, but from integrity. From knowing you showed up and executed no matter what. Because the goal in trading isn't to feel good. The goal is to get good, and that takes friction. Think of an elite boxer. Every punch in training doesn't land. Every round isn't perfect. But they keep showing up. Not for the KO, but for the reps. 'Cause one day, in the ring, that training becomes instinct. Same with trading. You do the hard reps, the red days, the slumps, the boring weeks, so that when opportunity comes, you're not hopeful. You're ready. Let's end with this. The market will always tempt you to measure your worth by your wins. Ignore it. Measure yourself by what you control. Your patience, your process, your mindset. Because if you can act without needing to feel good, you become untouchable. And that, more than any system, any indicator, any setup, is how traders print money while others quit.